Sammy Davis Jr. once referred to himself as, quote, the only black Puerto Rican one-eyed Jewish entertainer in the world. At 5'6" and 120 pounds, he wasn't the most physically imposing figure in the entertainment industry, but throughout his 6-decade-spanning career, he left a huge impression on the world of entertainment. He overcame racism to establish himself as a legend. He became a successful comedian, dancer, actor, and singer, and as a part of the notorious Rat Pack alongside Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, he became world famous for starring in films like Sergeants 3 and Ocean's 11. Keep watching to learn about how Sammy Davis Jr. died flat out broke with a glass eyeball. The accident that cost him his eye. On November 19, 1954, Sammy Davis Jr. was nearly killed in a horrific automobile accident in San Bernardino, California. At the time of the crash, he was making his way back from Las Vegas to Los Angeles. A year prior, Sammy had struck up a friendship with Jewish entertainer Eddie Cantor, who had gifted him a mezuzah. Instead of hanging it by his door, as is the tradition, Davis wore it around his neck like a necklace for good luck. The only occasion he forgot to wear it was the night of his accident. The wreck occurred at a junction point along U.S. Route 66 when a driver, who missed their exit, backed up her vehicle in Davis's lane. Sammy was unable to slow down quickly enough to avoid hitting the car and subsequently lost his left eye when his face hit the bullet-shaped horn button of his Cadillac. Sammy's close friend, fellow actor Jeff Chandler, was quoted as saying he would gladly give Davis one of his own eyes if he could keep him from going blind. Fortunately, Davis recovered from his injuries, despite the fact there was no saving his eye. For 6 months after the accident, he had to wear an eye patch. He's seen wearing it on the cover of his debut album. He also was seen wearing it when he appeared on the CBS game show What's My Line later that year. He was later fitted with a glass eye, which he wore for the remainder of his life. While in the hospital, Eddie Cantor described to Sammy the striking similarities between the Jewish people's historical struggles to that of black cultures. Davis had been born into a Christian household. His mother was Catholic and his father was a Baptist. He began studying Judaism and Jewish history several years after the accident and converted to the faith in 1961. The accident marked a pivotal turning point in not just his spiritual worldview, but also his career. Shortly after losing his eye and narrowly avoiding death, Davis was transformed from a well-known entertainer to a national celebrity. Before we tell you more, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. The Rat Pack was originally called the Klan, but Sammy cried foul. In 1959, Sammy became a member of the notorious Rat Pack, which was led by his close friend and fellow entertainer Frank Sinatra. The ragtag crew of entertainers included the likes of Joey Bishop, Dean Martin, and John F. Kennedy's brother-in-law, Peter Lawford. Sinatra initially referred to the gathering as the Klan, but Davis was staunchly opposed to this title for obvious and understandable reasons. It was too reminiscent to the racist organization, the Ku Klux Klan. Sinatra then renamed the group the Summit, but that didn't stick for very long either. After a long evening of poker that extended into the early morning hours, the men were left drunken and disheveled. As the story goes, actress Angie Dickinson approached the group and stated they looked like a pack of rats. The nickname quickly caught on, and from then onward they were known as the Rat Pack. This story may be a bit apocryphal, however, as the earlier group that was led by Humphrey Bogart and his wife Lauren Bacall, who also called themselves the Rat Pack, earned that designation after Bacall made a similar remark about them resembling a pack of rats. Sammy's tragic marriages to Kim Novak and Loray White. In 1957, Sammy began dating white actress Kim Novak. By most accounts, Davis was deeply in love with her, and she apparently shared those sentiments. It was the first time he loved someone enough to marry them. After the rumor started going around that Davis planned on marrying Novak, racist white people who opposed interracial marriage were incensed. One particularly racist individual who took issue with Sammy marrying Kim was Novak's boss, Harry Cohn. Harry was the head of Columbia Pictures, the studio that Novak was under contract with. He thought Novak's marriage to a black man would hurt the studio's profits. It didn't seem to matter that Davis was incredibly famous, respected, and loved by many. Cohn ended up hiring the mob to threaten Sammy. Reportedly, the mobsters claimed that they would blind him in his remaining good eye and break his legs if he didn't marry a black woman in the next 48 hours. Davis was understandably spooked by these threats and subsequently gave in to his harassers' demands. To protect himself from the violence, Davis married a black dancer named Loray White. Everyone around him knew the marriage was a sham, and the only reason he had agreed to go through with it was because of the threats. Sammy agreed to pay White off with a large lump sum under the condition that their marriage would be dissolved within the year. But even though they went through with a traditional wedding, it's known that he drank too much at the reception. It's also said that he attempted to strangle White en route to their wedding suite. Later that evening, he was found holding a gun to his head, threatening to take his life. Sammy and Loray's marriage was understandably short-lived, and they were no longer married by 1959. This was clearly one of the low points of his life. He died of throat cancer. In August of 1989, Davis developed a disconcerting tickle in the back of his throat and lost the ability to taste food. His doctors quickly discovered he had a cancerous tumor in his throat. He'd been a heavy smoker for the majority of his adult life. Reportedly, he smoked 4 packs of cigarettes a day. When he was informed that laryngectomy surgery provided him with the best chance of survival, he told his doctors he would rather hold on to his voice and face the cancer head-on rather than have part of his throat removed. So instead of immediately going under the knife, he opted to be treated with a combination of radiation therapy and chemo. Later on, however, after his cancer reoccurred, he had to have his larynx removed. He was released from the hospital in March of 1990, but just 2 months later, he died from complications of his throat cancer on May 16, 1990, at age 64. He was buried at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, California. 2 days after his death, the bright neon lights of the Vegas Strip went dark for 10 minutes in his honor. His fortune was eclipsed by his debts. In his will, Davis left the majority of his estate to his widow, Altovis Davis. It's estimated his estate was worth $4 million, but unfortunately, Davis had owed the IRS more than $5 million, which after penalties and interest ballooned to more than $7 million. Since Altovis had co-signed his tax returns, she became liable for his debt. To cover the massive bill, she was left with no other choice but to auction off his personal possessions and real estate holdings. A few of Davis's friends in the industry, including Steve Allen, Ed Asner, Jane Meadows, Joey Bishop, and Quincy Jones, arranged a fundraising concert at the famous Sands Hotel in Las Vegas to help ease that burden. In 1997, Altovis reached a settlement deal with the IRS. After her death in 2009, their son Manny became the sole executor of Sammy's estates and was made the majority rights holder of his intellectual property. Now it's time to hear from you. What's your favorite memory of Sammy Davis Jr.? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content. By the way, if you haven't joined Facts First as a member yet, be sure to look below this video and click the join button. By becoming a paid member of Facts First, you'll get access to exclusive video content that you won't find anywhere else. This includes some of our more mature content that isn't suitable for public audiences, which includes topics like Hollywood actresses who posed for Playboy and some of the steamiest moments in movie history. Plus, you can enjoy these videos completely ad-free. Our biggest fans will notice they also get badges next to their name when they leave comments on our videos.